Let's bring in political analyst Ronnie Chatah now, host of podcast The Beirut Banyan. He's live for us also in Beirut. Ronnie, thank you very much for talking to us this evening. Now, authorising the army to prepare a plan to monopolise arms, what would a plan like this look like, and how likely is it that Hezbollah will conform?
I think it's too early to tell what kind of plan could unfold under these conditions. The Lebanese army, and for that matter, the Lebanese president, who's a former army chief, has so far been reluctant to use force against disarming groups, whether it's sub-state groups like Hezbollah or Palestinian factions that remain armed in the country. His preference has been towards dialogue. But the problem is the timetable for dialogue. I think the timetable that was set out at the beginning of his presidency, there's been an expiration. In other words, patience has run out. The intention is not enough. There has to be some kind of policy. But what the Lebanese army could do without sparking confrontation or, for that matter, violence with Hezbollah, I don't know. But it seems like something has changed. Less to do with the policy itself and more to do with that this is government policy, in that in earlier governments, it was all about dialogue and talking for the sake of talking and trying to form a defense strategy with Hezbollah. That is over. Now you have the Lebanese government, at least with the intention of regaining full control over all of its geography. And this is brand new. But I'll also say one thing which I think is important. Even though Hezbollah is degraded, and Hezbollah is much weaker today than it was last year, it remains an armed group, and it remains largely confined to Iran's security needs. This is not just a Lebanese militia. Had it been a Lebanese militia only, it would have been disarmed long ago like other Lebanese militias. Hezbollah is unique. It remains Iran's arm in the country.
How critical a time is this for Lebanon, in your opinion?
There is a very small window of opportunity to get things right. And by getting things right, I'm not confining it just to recent years. I'm talking about modern Lebanese history, where for the better part of the last 55 years, Lebanon has been a battlefield for regional war. The time for that era should be over and done with, yet Lebanon is still, to a degree, reluctant to confront what remains the last sub-state militia from the civil war. Hezbollah is the last one. But the window of opportunity is critical, even though it's shortening, even though it's shrinking, because international attention and pressure is being applied right now for Lebanon to do this once and for all, to unlock reconstruction funds, for the Lebanese economy to grow once more, for Lebanon to regain its role in the region, not for war, not for violence, but for tourism, for economic prosperity, a banking sector that once flourished, which is now more or less dead. That kind of scenario requires ending all types of regional war in this country. In recent years, it's been Iran and Lebanon. Earlier years, it was the Arab-Israeli conflict. And for that matter, the Syrian government played a heavy role in Lebanon for 30 years. This country was under Syrian occupation. All of that has to come to an end. The Lebanese government today says it wants to bring that to an end. The Lebanese president has indicated he wants to neutralize Lebanon from regional war. And the Lebanese prime minister, your earlier correspondent alluded to this, he set out his own timetable, meaning by the end of the year, that the Lebanese army should have a plan, and by the end of the month should be submitted to the government. But up until now, this is just talking. We want to see actual concrete policy delivered on the ground. That hasn't happened as of yet.
And Ronnie, what sort of guarantees would be given to Hezbollah? What are the demands coming from the group, both internally and regionally?
I think up until now, the strategy has been to buy time and wait. And I think, unfortunately, the demands are not coming from Beirut or from Lebanon. They're coming from Iran. And Hezbollah was Iran's crown jewel for the region. And Hezbollah grew into becoming Iran's most important security component outside of Iran's borders. I think we're waiting to see what exactly Iran would take in return. That has less to do, I think, with Lebanese internal issues and more to do with regional diplomacy and how Iran moves forward in the region too, not just vis-a-vis Hezbollah, but vis-a-vis what's been happening in Iran with regards to Israel bombing Iran too. But taking one step back, I think at the moment, right now, Lebanon has an opportunity to do something which is unusual, to sever Hezbollah from Israel. Which means if Hezbollah cannot fight Israel effectively, if Hezbollah does not have the capabilities to fight Israel, it becomes a Lebanese internal issue, and the pressure goes on the Lebanese government to end this once and for all. We're at the beginning of that stage, but it's a delicate crossroads, and I think the pace should be measured with Lebanese recent history, which is this should not be rushed, but the timetable cannot be indefinite as well. You cannot just kick this can endlessly down the road. It has to happen soon.
Ronnie, thank you very much for your time and for speaking to TRT World.